Okay, here is some feedback on the report that you sent, interim submission report. There's some verbal feedback I'm going to give you here. This goes along with the actual written comments I've made in the report. Let's come down and have a look. The first thing you have to think about is who's the report for. In this case, the report is for your project manager. You think about who you are in all of this work, and you are the construction manager who's going to go through the whole process of planning the production of the delivery of this project. Now in this phase you are somewhere around in feasibility at buildability stage. You're going to move from buildability and then you're going to go into pre-construction and construction. So you've got to set the whole project out in relation to that. So you have to plan the project from this point. So at the beginning of the report, you actually state who the project is for, who the report is for, and in this case, it's your project manager. The first part here is okay, but then you actually make reference to what the key elements that's going to be contained in the report. The report will contain this, 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 and this. I'll refer you back now to the assignment itself. If you look at what the assignment itself said, you can see in that it sort of like structures the way the report's got to go, and it says its key elements. I've said this many times before, I'll say it again. The report always starts off by telling people what you're going to tell them. You then you then tell them what you're going to tell them, so i.e. each one of those key elements turns into a section of the report, and at the very end you have to set up some kind of summary, not necessarily a conclusion at this point, but a summary highlighting the main points that you've told them in the report. So that's what you've got to do here. Alright? So think about those things. Let's come down a bit further. General description and scope is fine, but remember all of this here, general description, the scope, description of the project, etc., all add up to key constraints. And each one of these constraints can be used to assist in the rationale. Yeah, they support the rationale of why you are going to select a particular method in delivering this construction project. Okay, so you've got here things like buildability. Well, the only question about that is, what does that mean? And who delivers it, and when is it going to be delivered? You've got to think about more than these constraints. There may be other things, especially what it says in the I want you to review at this point the initial brief, anything in there that you can use to support your rationale, plus also any additional information that you've been given that will also support your rationale for doing the work that you're going to do and the way you're going to run it. In this report you only need to propose. I know you've just said it quite quickly here, but in fact it's a proposal, and the proposal is, I presume from what you've said, is top down, and if that's the case, what's the rationale for top down? Here, when it talks about the rationale, now you can bring in the points about the constraints that you want to make about the particular project that you've identified in the site location, the client's brief, any additional information, etc., etc. Right? Because when you've given this report to your project manager, he has to take it then to the client, and the client wants to know why this project's going to cost so much, and this is where the constraints come in and why you're doing it in this particular way. When it comes to this point, when you've decided and discussed the top-down method of construction, what you're now going into is the actual physical analysis of how you're going to build the basement, which is fine, but that has its own new heading. You must put that into place as well. Okay, so what you've shown me now is in fact a breakdown of what top-down will actually look like, which is good stuff, but that is what this is. This is not basically a rationale now. We've moved into top-down methodology. You need to think about that, okay, because that fits in with your project plan, which you're going to do very shortly. But the other things that this also fits into is, what key personnel are you going to require to carry out and conduct these processes? So you have to think about that as well. So when it comes down here, your construction management, the construction management, right, needs to be remembered, we have to think about here is not just a generic set of headings. Go back and review what it is you're going to do. You've mentioned buildability. Alright, so what I've said here is, what's the rationale for the team you're going to propose? Now the rationale for the team you're going to propose is based upon where you're going to come into the life cycle of the project, i.e. in this particular instance you're coming in at feasibility. You're then going to say at feasibility to develop to develop the construction methodology and the planning, etc., etc. We need to have this person and this person and this person, and the deliverables from this phase are this, and the deliverables from the pre-construction phase is this, and the deliverables at the construction phase is this, and you're going to start identifying personnel that you require to do that work. So that's what you have to do there. So that is consistent with the way you are actually going about to deliver the project. This is basically what this says here. So when you've identified your key personnel and who they talk to and liaise with within the whole construction project, what you do then is you then make a list of their names, identifying what you want them to do. When you've got their name, i.e. construction manager or logistic manager, open bracket after you've put the name of the person, logistic manager shall we say, and that logistic manager comes in at this phase, and this phase. It could be on 3 phases, it could be on 2 phases, or it could just be on the construction phase. So the logistical manager could be involved in the project feasibility, pre-construction, or construction. I don't know, it's the way you're going to plan the project and how you're going to do it. Close the bracket, then you can see from what you've done, review each of the people that you're going to be in your team, yeah, when they're going to be involved, what they're going to deliver, i.e. this is what they're responsible for, and this is how they're going to do it. You could then draw your organisational chart. In addition to this, what you can also do at this point is you can then review this, okay, and you review this in terms of making some kind of matrix with their name on one side and then setting up a grid, which is what a matrix is. On the top it says feasibility, pre-construction, construction, and then you can put in a percentage of the usage of that person's time in each one of those phases. So you have to think about those things, okay? So it's not just a list of names, it's a list of names of your team and where they're going to be and how they're going to work in your team. Alright? You finished it there, and there is your feedback for this particular project. I hope this helps.